Okay, here we go. Another episode of the ExStreamists. We are talking about Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 7. We got a lot to talk about. This is exciting. This is the episode I think we've been waiting for all season. It's moving the needle forward. It's about time. I'm here with my boy Max, and we got our guest appearance of Joey, as usual, with the Star Wars stuff. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start talking.
That was a lot, man.
There's a lot of stuff. I'm trying to figure out where to start, where to even start to dissect it. We can go from frame to frame. Overall feeling, though, Max, what did you think? Overall feeling of this episode?
You know, this is one of the episodes that we kind of, like you said, waiting for all season to kind of like, what is the story? What path is it going? Why are all these pieces that's been on the chessboard? Who's orchestrating it? Why? You know, and we got a lot of that found out here.
Yeah,
you know, a lot of dots put together. We had deaths this episode. We had, you know, a deeper look into Mandalore. It's solid, man.
I got to finally understand what take Mandalore back actually means, which is pretty nice. Joey, what'd you think?
So, I mean, it's been like 2 minutes since we finished the episode, and I feel like I'm still
processing, right?
Still such a process.
Yeah.
I'm really glad how it started. So like, I'm glad they kind of started with the Moff Gideon story, because we've been speculating all season, like, okay, we know they're going to have to bring some sort of aspect of Thrawn into play, right? We know that's the direction they're going, but we also know Moff's not just going to end how it ended in the end of season 2. So it was cool to see him at the kind of this round table of Imperial sympathizers and them talking about Thrawn. But it was cool to find out he hasn't even really seen Thrawn. To him, it kind of he was
nobody
almost
has.
Nobody has. They're waiting for his plan.
It sounds like that one dude.
No, but
right?
it sounds like the one guy might have been just a true believer.
He's
but
a
it
true
doesn't mean
Lord,
it doesn't actually seem like he actually has seen him, though.
Yes.
Sure.
You're
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I wasn't sure how to read that. It almost seemed like he was the one, like he was the gatekeeper. But it's cool because we had thought, like, you know, or at least I'd thought in my head or speculated, okay, well, they're somehow in cahoots, but they don't even know that if he's out there. I mean, it sounded like he was pretty much questioning, like, is he even out there?
No, they know he's out there. The thing is, they're waiting for this grand plan and his big reveal. And one guy's kind of like, well, it's, you know, we don't want everybody. He's not time for his big reveal. And then you're questioning, well, is there even really a plan? Like, you know, there's rumors, and it's like, well, we don't want people to know about what he's doing and what he's preparing. Not yet.
Yeah.
But he's out there, but they're waiting for this plan. So they, this council of, you know, supporters of the Empire, they're waiting for his grand plan because he is the heir apparent, right?
Right.
Right now. At this, you know, for half of those people. And Moff is kind of comes in and like, we can't wait on, you know, the rumor and the what ifs. I have stuff going down right now.
And I think Moff ultimately wants power too.
Yes, he does.
Well,
like he wants it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
He wants it.
All those guys, I mean, you can see the look when he actually says, you know, it's time for new to leadership.
Yeah.
Some
of them were down.
It seemed like all of them were down except for the one guy whose name I'm forgetting.
Hux's dad.
But then also Hux's dad.
Daddy Hux.
Yes. Yeah. Nice little, so now we're kind of seeing the foundation of what
some sequel stuff.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought that the whole scene was pretty cool.
We got an answer who what's her name? Favorite character this season.
G86 or whatever.
You know, who's she been working for?
Officer.
Yeah. Communication officer.
Yeah, so she actually is working for Gideon.
Yeah.
She has a mole for him inside the New Republic.
Yep.
I still quite didn't get the real reason why that she fries what's his name's brain, the doctor.
They didn't want his knowledge to get out.
They didn't want his knowledge to get out, but it is interesting though when Gideon's walking into the chamber of
the council
of Imperial officers, it does look like he's walking by cloning chambers.
Yeah.
So it makes me actually think, because we get that big reveal at the end of this episode of I guess a new form of dark trooper using Beskar, and that's
That's how they got him out.
right. But are those troopers clones?
Well, you heard what he said,
Yeah,
right?
it's a combination.
He was saying it's exactly.
It
that
is a
it's
combination. He did say
Yes.
that.
He
Oh,
said-
sorry, I missed that.
Well,
Spies
he-
takes us 3 of us.
He said it. He said it takes Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian, clone. Like
Yeah.
he stated a couple different things, and I
Yep.
think that alludes also to why they were looking for Grogu,
Yeah.
why they wanted him, why Pershing was there in the first place.
Yeah.
So maybe
So
this
his
new
end
thing-
goal, we can now do we come to the conclusion that whatever he was doing with Grogu and the cloning stuff has nothing to do with the Emperor?
I think so. I mean, based on this, that's where my head goes to, because
That's a little disappointing.
a little bit, but also not, right? Because then that would mean they're trying to tie this into the sequel. And I think if they can
Yeah.
keep this as independent as they can, they're obviously going to do things. I mean, just this kind of little throw to like Hux's daddy, like there's going to be the little things, but I'm almost glad they didn't. I don't want them to tie it exactly in, because I think ultimately talking about what we talked about
It would
in
make
our
it easy.
earlier,
But they
talking about our
have,
earlier
though.
podcast though,
Mhm.
with this plan of Filoni in 6 years having a movie to culminate it all.
Yeah.
We don't want this to be something where they end up at the sequel. We want its own dope thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I mean,
let's not
I
take
still,
it to Palps.
But they had the clone of Snoke in season 2, a discarded body, right? They have
it looks
given
similar to
you-
Snoke. We weren't,
Yeah.
I mean, it was
Most
still
of the internet
speculation.
assumed that that's what that
Right.
was. So they've done some little bit of trying to tie it in, or maybe not.
I
I don't think it's 100%.
I
Yeah.
like the idea of the tie-in just because it makes,
Yeah.
I guess, episode 9 a little bit easier to tolerate if there was an actual grand plan. But we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. Let's stay on target. Let's get back to this episode. So we saw that it's not a Grand Admiral Thrawn pulling the strings. We did see that it's Gideon who's been pulling the strings all
Yeah.
along. It gives us the answer of like how he actually got freed from the shuttle. I guess the shuttle transport where they saw the Beskar armor.
Yeah.
And we were speculating that it could have been Mandalorians that actually broke him out. Either they were hired to do it or they were doing it as a vengeance for bombing Mandalore. It turns out it was just his own people that did it, his own clones and in his armor, which, that obviously wasn't one of the guesses that we were coming up with, but
No.
I do like that.
I do too.
I do like the fact that in a way that I was right that Mandalore was a staging ground for the Imperials, or I guess for
Moff.
someone.
Moss cloning and stuff.
I did think
Experiments.
I did think that it was going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn that was going to be there,
Mhm.
and that those were his TIE interceptors. But it turns out that it was Gideon's TIE interceptors.
Mhm.
It is a little confusing though that if he's been sitting there that entire time, he's at a secret base there this entire time, and the Bo-Katan's moon is just basically an eye shot. Like, he could have just bombed her a long time ago. Why he never actually did that was kind of a little question. I was kind of questioning that, why he's been there the entire time and never.
Well, she was out
said-
collecting
But her
ships and stuff.
while she was
She-
basically screwing with him this entire time,
brought her home?
he could have just bombed her like,
Yeah, that's
from the
a-
very
yeah,
beginning.
yeah.
So that was a little interesting. But then let's skip past this a little bit. We see the two Mandalorian sides come together when Bo-Katan comes back with her people,
Yeah.
right? And so now we have Mandalorians that won't take their masks off and
Mhm.
Mandalorians that do take their masks off.
Yep.
And so obviously there's animosity a little bit between them.
Yeah.
And I thought the whole scene was pretty cool, them coming together. I thought it was a little weird that she's like, let's make a feast for them. And then none of them can actually eat in front of her.
Yeah, the children of the watch can't eat.
The children of the watch can't eat in front of what are their names again?
The night owls.
The night
Night
owls. Yeah, yeah.
owls.
I thought that was a little interesting. Well, I will make a grand feast for you.
But half of us will leave to eat on our own.
Yes, but then we'll come back and watch you eat
Yeah.
like creeps. So
No, it was cool, and
Yeah.
nothing in this episode to me came across as corny. I mean, short of
No.
short
The
of
Iron
the
Man suit is
beginning of the
it's
Iron
over.
Man suit, that was a little corny. But
but at the end of the day, it's a corny love.
I
hate
like
relationship.
how
I
I'm
agree.
glad you brought this up, because after last week's episode,
Fuck, we got enough corniness.
Yeah, we watched that, right? And I was, with you guys, I gave it like a 4 rating, and I was kind of pissed off. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's also a Star Wars junkie kind of guy, and he told me, listen, Star Wars has always had an element of this in it.
He's right.
There's always been an element of quote unquote goofy, kind of quirky, and we've accepted it in a form. And if you look at that episode, it had a lot of that in there, but the underlining was still great. The whole detective side of Bo and was solid. So we can't discredit when there's corny, quote unquote corny stuff in Star Wars, because that's part of Star Wars.
Yeah, I think that episode was just bad timing.
Yeah.
That episode
bad
was
timing. That's what we're gonna.
Yes.
We're gonna call it bad timing.
Look, think about this for a second.
It's a 6.5.
If that episode, I know we're going back to a previous episode, but we've been having this conversation offline. So let's hash it out for people that actually care about it. Which I don't know if anyone's listening that actually cares about this, but
no, if they're listening, they care.
They care.
And this episode would have been like the second episode of the season, or even started off being the first episode of the season. No, we're talking about episode 6, not talking about episode 7. We're talking about
it would have been
6.
better received.
It totally would have been better received, because we went into that episode thinking that we were going to get what we just watched today.
Sure, I'll give you that.
Because the previous episode was really good.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah,
and so it's like, here's a good episode. Here's a Monster of the Week episode. Here's a good episode. Here's a Monster of the Week. And sometimes those Monster of the Week episodes pay off. Sometimes they don't. And if that episode would have been sooner, because we wanted the needle to move forward.
Yes.
We thought that was going to move forward on the 5th episode, and it did, right?
Yeah,
a little bit.
But then in the 6th episode, you stopped moving the needle forward. Right?
Yeah.
It just like
you went sideways.
There was 10 minutes of moving.
Yeah.
The 10 minutes of moving the needle forward, and it was basically what we kind of already had a conversation with. Like, doesn't she already have? Was she supposed to already have the darksaber?
Yeah.
So that was disappointing, but I have to agree with Max after going back and watching it. And our boy Kyle, I had a conversation with him during Easter. He disagrees with this, but I do change my score a little bit. Actually, drastically. I changed my story drastically because the detective part was actually pretty cool. I liked all that. The atmosphere actually of that planet was pretty cool. The CG was actually good. I still hold like that the except for the chase scene with that droid, that wasn't good. But the world looked good. If you go back and watch it,
it's a 6.5 to me. Last week I said 4.
Right.
I bumped it up 2.5. This guy, he went up a whole I
went up to a 7. I went from a 2 to a 7, which is 5.
You watched 2 different episodes.
But I also did watch it with my wife, and I watched it with my 3-year-old, and he adored that episode. He loved it.
Yeah.
And it made me actually kind of go back and go, it's not supposed to like always feel like an adult show. It's actually supposed to have those kid elements to it. In that episode,
Star Wars
did have it. It was Star Warsy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's cool.
But
so tying that back full circle to Grogu getting his little Iron Man suit, his IG-12 now.
It's a
little Star Wars.
It was more tolerable.
Yeah, it was a little more tolerable. Yes.
So think about that happening before. Like if that would have happened without the previous episode, would it have been easier to swallow? Would have been harder to swallow.
Yeah, it would have.
Joey's thinking. Joey's looking up to the sky for some answers here. What's going on, man?
It's not cringe.
No. I'm not even on the. My faces are not about the Grogu suit. My face is about the previous episode. One last thing, and then we can move on. So I gave it a 5.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then you all were texting me that you rewatch it. Blah blah blah. Okay. So I rewatched it 2 more times.
Oh,
2 more times.
Yeah, I watched it 3 times total.
Okay, good for you.
Gave it a fair shake.
Homework.
I'll just stick with the 5, even though I want to give it a lower score.
Oh.
Okay, because we're not watching Star Wars CSI.
Okay.
We're not watching, talking about like Star Wars has like a comedic, slightly bring in some comedy. That's one thing. What we got was like what's coming out on May the 4th purely for children, though. Like that was just corny beyond belief, in my opinion. Like that didn't feel like Star Wars. Was the world cool? Yeah, the world was cool. Were some of their like, quote unquote detective things, okay and cool? Yeah. But did that really hold any place in this entire season, even from the first 5 episodes and now episode 7, and then you have this episode 6, that it doesn't even feel like it has a home. It feels like it was content that was shot that they're like, well, we can make something out of this. Cool. You do that if you have 16 episodes and you have to throw something in, not if you have a 2-year gap and you give us 8 episodes of a show that's your number one show in the Star Wars universe right now. And that's an episode that you give us. That's 1/8 of the season. I don't know. I think it was garbage, and I'm going to stick to garbage. And I think that it is every bit of a fail of an episode, like an F. Rating, that's an F.
What happens if you say, like Robbie says, if they had put it earlier in the season, like episode 3,
and you didn't have to wait 2 years to get it?
I mean, shit. You're throwing all these what ifs. Didn't have to wait 2 years, and it was in the beginning. I think it was still a garbage episode, but it wouldn't have been so hated, especially coming off of a pretty good episode, especially not being episode 6 of 8.
Did you hate it more than episode 3, which was
hands down? This was like my
Pershing's episode.
Yeah, I would take
really.
Yeah, I mean Pershing's episode, at least like he was a part of it. Yes, okay. I totally hated it more. Okay. And we can move on.
So you hate the IG-12?
No, I don't. No.
It's cute.
No.
Star Wars.
Isn't it IG-11?
No, it's IG-12.
It is IG-12.
It's now 12.
Yeah,
No.
right.
Now going to episode 7. No, I thought that was like a little like, I could do without it, but no, I'm fine with that. And I think they're playing it well. And like at the end, like Grogu this whole time, like in that episode, he kind of played that IG-12 in his little thing good.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to be like his new home, but I do think it could be cool. Like if they can make it where he starts to use his force abilities in that suit.
Or some guns.
I mean, this could be something that's cool.
Yeah. He could be a little bit more helpful in this suit than his little pod thing.
I mean,
when crap goes down.
Yeah. He diffused a fight really
between Axwoves and Paz. Yeah.
And if he doesn't have the suit, I don't think that's happening. Someone's going to die right there.
Unless he's using the Force, absolutely.
I mean, and all the other Mandalorians are watching and letting it go down. Like they have to let it out.
That's the way. That's what they do.
So
they got to let that play out.
And when it comes to comedic relief, when we were talking about it, like I feel like him using like putting his hands and then hitting the button, like yes. That's like what Han Solo used to do with like some of his comedic relief, right? That's like what they tried to do in the sequels. That's like what some of the things like that. I feel like is more comedic relief than what we got with like Jack Black and Lizzo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Anyways.
But
we can move
on. But
at
least we finally get resolution because that's how the season started. We thought he was going to go hunting for a chip, but no.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, I mean,
they resolved that.
I like that a lot. I mean, I like that better than getting the chip and bringing back the droid guy that you actually really didn't even care about to begin with, and made that story irrelevant, but now it's relevant in a way.
For sure. And then I think it was cool how then from there you basically get Bo like just being a leader.
Yes.
Just taking it and telling them this is what we're going to do. We're going to Mandalore. Boom.
So let's fast forward to Din Djarin actually verifying that, to at least for him. So really quick, she gets a group together and they decide to retake Mandalore. They're going to basically
scouting mission.
They're going to scout a mission to find, I guess they're looking for the Forge,
the
right?
Great Forge.
The Great Forge.
Yeah.
While they're there, all of a sudden it turns into a Mad Max experience, and some people that were just left behind on the planet. And how long have they been there for? What's the timeline on this? Because they bombed Mandalore like before A New Hope, right?
Yeah, the Purge of Mandalore was basically after Episode 3, after Revenge of the Sith, when the Empire took over. When they went to basically conquer worlds,
but it doesn't happen right away. It happens a couple years,
after. So it was in between, like Episode 3 and because this would have taken place when basically the Empire was taking over, and the Mandalorians were like, "You're not taking this over," and they're like, "Well, yeah, we are."
Let's say it takes place exactly in between Episode 3 and 4. Let's just say that hypothetically, okay? So that would be okay. So let's add that in for a second, then. Between Episode 4 and 6 is like 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you have
6, 7 years after now.
No, well, because then Mandalorian, the show takes place 4 to 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Then you have 2 years with Luke Skywalker, so 7.
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, let's just say 20 years.
Yeah.
Around 20 years. We're just gonna we're gonna snowball it. If anyone wants to message and actually put that and do the actual real math, Kyle, throw us a bone here. Let us know exactly what it is. So let's just say 20 years. So these guys have been sitting on that planet for 20 years, just going around
Surviving, scavenging.
hanging out on their sailboat that goes over rock and sand or whatever. But then also that entire time when they're there, thinking that they were still fighting the good fight and that they didn't surrender.
Yeah.
Right. That they were doing what their leader, Bo-Katan, their princess, their queen, whatever she was to them, wanted them to do. It turns out they get to find out the hard way that no, she did surrender, but it was to save their lives.
Yeah. That was
even though it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Correct. And that was good because then that told us how Moff got the dark saber.
He didn't beat her.
Yeah.
It was just,
No, he did beat her. I mean, he did beat her in a way.
Not physical battle.
Yeah, not combat.
Not physical battle.
Combat.
She surrendered it. But I wasn't clear though. Did he already bomb Mandalore? And then she surrendered?
No.
They were losing.
They were in the process of bombing.
Yeah.
And then she gave up and
he still bombed.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, let's come to negotiations. And she's like, okay. And then when she did, he's like, cool. F you, I'm going to keep bombing. And from what they said, they basically bombed the whole planet 2 times over.
Yes.
Right. And those guys survived.
They survived it.
And like it was her people. So now it's got more of her people. So now it's almost like there's 3 factions working together now. You got the original her people that have been living off of, trying to survive on this land, on their death planet or whatever. And then she's got obviously
Night owls,
like, everyone that she's with right now.
Yeah.
So they're accumulated. They're on the sailboat, and she gives a speech. I can't remember exactly what happens in the speech when she talks to everybody.
What do you mean? Which speech?
On the sailboat, like before they were.
Something happens while no, I'm sorry. She talks about. She basically tells them that's with her saying why she surrendered.
Yeah.
Right, and so
she's explaining.
Then Din Djarin comes
guilty.
Yeah, and then Din Djarin afterwards comes up to her after she's looking into the sunset or something like that, and says that he was brought up thinking that all of her people were were selfish.
Yeah,
and it turns out that they were wrong. That she was not a selfish person, and he basically pledges his allegiance to her.
Yeah, she said, I was selfish, and then then that's when he basically was like, no, it's not just about who carries the darksaber, because she said this is the only thing holding us together.
And he says him and his people.
Yeah,
that's not what they looked at loyalty. They looked at loyalty, honor,
character,
and stuff like that. And so he pledges his allegiance to her.
And she says
she has it in spades.
Huh?
She has it in spades.
Yeah.
She's
I get
honorable.
that. Yeah,
she's a great
absolutely.
leader. She's worth following.
And she says at some point, and I don't know if it's in that speech or not, that Mandalorians are the reason that Mandalorians are constantly broken.
Says it, I think she says it in that. Yeah,
and that's very true. And I think them fighting kind of shows that. Like if they could all just gather together, helmet on or not, whatever. And this speaks true.
No one could beat them.
And I feel like this also kind of like mirrors like some of the things going on in our real world. Like if we could all we're all just the same people, and if we could all just gather together, and that's what she's saying, if we can all just it doesn't matter if you're a child of the Watch or you're a night owl or you've been on the planet for 20 years, we're Mandalorians.
Right.
Let's be Mandalorians and take back Mandalore.
What were they calling the ones the primitives? That what's the guy Hawk? What's the guy? The guy she took the darksaber from.
Moff Gideon?
No, the other guy. The guy who was ruling the night owls.
Oh, your guy. What's his name?
What's that guy's name?
What's
the character's
my guy?
name. Now you're gonna make me go look it up.
I don't know.
The guy that she beats. Well, she didn't take the darksaber from him.
Axe Woves?
That's his name.
Yeah,
she took leadership from him.
Leadership.
She didn't take the
that's Axe Woves.
Axe Woves. Yeah, he was calling them primitives, right?
Oh, the people on the planet?
Yeah, no, he was calling like Paz Vizsla and all.
Yeah.
Because they wear the helmets,
going back, like the Orthodox.
Yeah,
they're going back to the
Orthodox.
beginning. Yeah.
It's stupid that just because of a helmet.
Yeah, really? Because I don't want to take my helmet off.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It just shows you how stupid it is.
Totally.
Petty.
Yeah. But that's what they were showing that on purpose, obviously.
Yeah,
totally. So let me ask you guys this. So how do you feel about our main protagonist of this show? Just now, it seems like he's now... he's now bowed out. It seems... Not bowed out. I guess
he's
so.
ancillary, right?
he's just, I mean, he's not the main figure, it seems like, anymore. The
But
show.
they said that this weekend as
I
well.
know they said that this weekend.
said
I'm fine with it,
The
man.
Mandalorian is more
I mean,
than
I'm
just
fine
him.
with it.
I'm
I'm
fine
not
with
fine
it.
with it. The reason why I'm not 100% fine with it, because that's not the person that we watched. I mean, he was the main person in the first season. He's really the main person in the second season. And now you just kind of slowly seems
Pass
like you're
the
taking
torch.
every single thing away and passing the torch.
Yeah.
And I like Bo-Katan as a character before she was even on this show, just because of what I've seen from her from the cartoons and everything. And obviously I like how she's being handled in this show right now. And I'd be totally fine with it. But at the same time, I kind of want that equal relationship. I still hoping for that Game of Thrones, let's rule together.
That could still be a
I'll
thing.
take my helmet off.
If you think
my
of it
queen.
look at it from this point of view, like season 1, they were really establishing him as, a character. Season 2 was really more developing of Grogu. But it was, you saw his influence into that. Here you're developing Bo-Katan, and again, you still see his influence into that.
Yeah.
He's giving speeches to back her up. He's following her and helping the others follow. So it's not that he's written out, it's that his role more of a support to help build these characters, and it could be just for this one season.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
next season, now that the two other main characters of this story are really developed, he can go back to taking more of a lead from a story perspective rather than just a leadership kind of thing. Because he's still playing an integral role in Bo-Katan's development. Because you remember the beginning of the season, it was him going to the living waters, and it was his speech that kind of got her to be back on board with, for that time being, the religious side of being a Mandalorian and going through those vows.
Right.
So indirectly, he was building her character to what she is now. And here, again, she was feeling bad about herself, about giving up the darksaber and being betrayed by Moff Gideon. And who came to help prop her back up and saying, no, it's not about the stupid sword. It's, it's about, you. So he's played a really integral part of these 2 seasons, even though they've been more Grogu development and Bo-Katan development.
Yeah. No, I see
know that
that.
was long-winded, but
No. So let me ask you this then. And you made a comment about this while we were watching the show, and I've been kind of seeing the same thing. And maybe it makes me take a different turn just by having this conversation right now. But we keep seeing Grogu kind of just hanging out with Bo-Katan a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like first he's got his little pod next to her in the ship.
Yep.
Then this episode, he's kind of sitting on her lap.
He's straight up sitting on her
Kind of
lap.
like a mom figure in a way, right?
Yes.
So let's just say, and I don't think they're going to do this, but it seems like they might be preparing us for a completely different take on the show for season 4. Almost to the point where it's like you even take Din Djarin out of the picture completely.
I love where you're going with this.
I don't love where I'm going with this, but it kind of seems like they've been setting us up for it, because you've been setting up a new lead for the show this entire season.
Yeah.
And you're taking the values of our main character and filtering it towards her and making her the likable person, making her kind of have almost the same values, not to the point, I mean, even it was to the point where she wouldn't take her helmet off until the armor told her that she could take her helmet off. She's banding everybody together. She's got the darksaber now. Like, could this show go on season 4 if what we just saw at the end of this season, and we haven't even talked about, not the season, but this episode, and we haven't even talked about it yet in this podcast. And I feel like I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but are we setting it up where he might even be captured or taken off the board or killed or whatever? Hopefully it's not killed. I don't think it would be killed, but it's taken off the board for a little bit for season 4, where now it's
search
like
for Spock style.
Search for Spock style, where it's like, Grogu's not with dad anymore. Grogu's hanging out with mom.
But they're looking for,
maybe they're looking for dad.
Because they captured him at the end of this episode. But it could just be a self-contained for this season. But they could also play off of, at the end of next week's episode, the attempt to rescue him doesn't work. And he, like you said, start of next season is the search for, Din Djarin. Would you be opposed to something like a story arc like that?
I mean, we
While he
normally,
films The
and
Last of
I
Us?
feel like I jumped the gun so much. And normally I would start this. This would be the, like after we already talked about the episode
You
and the
brought it
events that
up.
happened. I did, and I guess we can go that far a little bit. I kind of at this point, the way that I feel like they've nerfed him a little bit in this episode, in this show,
This season for sure.
this season, I feel like he's been nerfed. And also, let's also be honest. It seems like he's needed a lot of saving throughout the show completely.
Yeah. Grievous,
Grievous.
One-eyed Grievous.
So I think some of this plays into like some of like the internal like political beef that it sounded like there was between like Pedro Pascal and
what is this
and
internal
Disney.
beef? Who can tell me what this actually is? Because I don't think I've actually.
Let's look it up for next week because I don't know the ins and outs. But I remember when before the season started, it was like you're not gonna see his face at all. He wasn't on set a bunch. It was mostly voice. He wasn't in the suit as much as he was.
How much was he on set before? I don't think he was really on set before.
No, he was in the suit quite a bit.
Was he though? I think the guys that have been doubling for him have been doubling for him since season 1. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I think they were doubling in the scenes they needed to be. There's plenty of scenes where like you don't need a stunt double for the Mandalorian. He's usually just standing there talking, or walking.
Right.
And so for those scenes, it was Pedro. So my take on it, I feel like when there was that scene in like episode 1, 2, or 3 where
of this season,
okay, where Bo looked at Grogu and was like, "What? You didn't think your dad was the only Mandalorian, did you?"
Oh, clue
And
one.
so I kind of when I saw that, I didn't take it as much as they were trying to like write Din's character out, as much as they were trying to expand that. Even though Din is your dad and blah blah blah, there's more Mandalorians and we're here. It's not just you and him. And so by him being on her lap, it's almost just showing like that this is okay.
Yeah.
It's not just you and your dad anymore. Like we're a big Mandalorian family.
Yeah, you don't have to wear a helmet.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to do all that. And so I don't know. I feel like it's felt natural, this transition to kind of Bo. Again, I love her character from like Clone Wars and Rebels and everything. So like
Right.
I feel totally okay with it. I feel like it just feels natural how they've done it.
Yeah, but also, I mean, I liked her character in those cartoons, but at the same time, her character wasn't all.
But would you
She
rather
was kind of a.
Would you rather Din be doing this stuff right now? Like really? Like would you
Sometimes-
rather Din like if
Sometimes
Bo's in
yes,
the
and sometimes
show,
no, because it makes some of the things that he's done almost irrelevant. Like the whole like idea of giving him the dark saber, right? Like why even give him the dark saber if he wasn't even going to do anything with it? And he didn't really do anything with it. He didn't even really. He tried to train with it for a little bit, and that was pretty much it. I understand that he does make the comment that his people didn't really believe in the dark saber and what it could actually do as far as bringing as far as following the person who has the dark saber. Like I understand all that, but why even make it a point to give it to him if it was just going to end up being hers in the first place? But then a lot of things happen in that episode where it was like it didn't even matter because Grogu came back anyways.
I was just gonna say so.
That episode actually is becoming really irrelevant if you think about it.
Which one?
Season finale of episode or
season 2.
Season 2.
Yeah, but you know what?
Because everything that's happened, it just didn't matter. Ended up getting the dark saber. Gideon was free to be like doesn't actually go to jail. He gets free. Grogu doesn't end up with Luke Skywalker. He comes back. Like all that stuff. Nothing came from it except they still have the ship.
But what if this is something, and I don't think we'll ever know, but what if this is what if all of this wasn't necessarily the plan? And then when season 2 ended, between season 2 and season 3, this whole thing of having to bring Grogu back, the whole thing of like basically having to interject yourself into Boba in order to tell the story, what if all that was an afterthought? We would never know that. We would never know if it was like, hey, you know what? We got told from the top, you gotta bring Grogu back in.
I think we'll know in like 15 years or 10 years if that's actually the deal. It'll come out
but we won't know now because
it feels like something happened.
Absolutely, because it's like, hey, why are you coming? Why are you kind of?
Well, maybe it was just his story arc of him making the decision to walk the Jedi path or the Mandalorian path. That is a good story.
But why tell that in Boba?
That part is weird. That
in
could have been
7 episodes, and you take over one entire. Come on,
that
is
COVID
weird.
thing.
You're
That could have
right.
been a COVID situation there, right? Isn't that the timeline when there was the break?
No, I feel like the production was already done with it. They might have been doing the special effects
Okay.
during COVID, but I feel like the actual
What would that
filming-
have anything to do with it?
Because they couldn't be on set and
him and set. They needed to
masks
change.
and all that
I don't
stuff.
know, man. I don't know.
It was weird times.
I don't remember what happened. I wore the same clothes for 2 years. I don't know what's going on.
Oh no.
Oh,
no. Oh no.
That was that smell. Okay, so let's jump back into this. What the events that happened to the show. All right, so they go down. They meet. They find the forge. She gets her people. They go and they find the forge, and then while they were there,
they think other Mandos come.
they think other Mandalorians. Oh, there's still other Mandalorians here. Oh my god! It turns out no. It's the suits that we actually saw in the beginning of the episode that Gideon walks by after he walks by the clones, the clone tubes, and then he walks by these. Actually, no, he doesn't walk by them. You see them at the end of the conversation.
No,
in the
he's walking
beginning.
in.
Is that when he walks in? You see
The
those
final
walking in.
room is the conference room.
Because there's
The final
those
room
red
is-
beams
okay,
like
I
in the
thought maybe
Phantom
you saw it
Menace.
afterwards.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Which is pretty cool.
Really cool.
So
That
now
was
you
a cool
you
scene.
see those, you see them flying in, and it's like Gideon just made his own Mandalorians. Really,
Yeah.
And they looked like First Order.
they looked a
They
little
give
First
them,
Order.
they looked more like First Order than they did like OG Stormtroopers.
Well, they didn't care. Like
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I did see
That's
that.
online. Yeah, that's a
They were,
thing.
They
People
were
are
giving
saying.
them
It's
some
like-
First Order vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they definitely were. I mean, even we could talk about even the guy or the red ones, which we'll get into that in a second.
Oh, the Praetorian Guards. Yeah.
Yeah. So it turns out like he sends on his Mandalorian troopers to kind of bait them in to following them, and the Mandalorians follow the what are we calling these guys?
He said they're his like new like dark troopers.
I
but
thought I thought his suit was like a new dark trooper suit. Or is he
He
talking
did,
about all of them?
No, he was talking about them. 'Cause
Okay.
that was all Beskar armor.
All right, we'll just
Yeah.
call them the dark troopers
2.0.
right now.
Yeah.
Dark trooper 2.0 in white.
They still look cool.
in white.
They did look cool. They did
the,
look cool.
The light
anyways,
troopers.
So he follows them into it looks like his base. Like he's had a
Yes.
base on Mandalore this
Yeah.
entire time.
Wild.
And he's been mining Beskar, and he's been making like this armor. It's using their technology, using their
Yeah.
knowledge of stuff to basically make his new army.
Yeah.
And it seems like that might have been the end goal from the beginning, because that base
That and cloning.
that base looks like it's been there for a while. It wasn't just like a pop up after like a year. It's
No.
been there for a while in the works and stuff like that. So that was pretty darn cool to actually see that. It was pretty darn cool to see him actually come down, and he looked a little bit when he shows up in his dark armor suit,
Yeah.
looking all Mandalorian,
Horns and everything.
which looks like
a Mandalorian.
a Mandalorian. Which
Yeah.
I think we can come to the conclusion he was not a Mandalorian,
No.
but
No,
it definitely looked like he's a Mandalorian. I
It
thought
had
we were gonna
some
get some
vibes.
other vibes
Yeah.
coming
I
into
know.
it. I actually, to be honest with you, I also thought for a second that we were gonna see the armorer show up,
Oh, and
because the only thing
Take
that
your helmet off and
Yeah.
join him.
I thought maybe for a second that was going to happen, because
Yeah.
we saw them just flying into space, going into their ship.
Yeah.
Maybe she was part of the plan the entire time
To bring
bait
them
everybody,
down there
to bait
and
everybody there.
bait them in. But I don't think so, because
Obviously not. I feel like I was wrong. Yeah.
Moff is kind of pissed off that the Mandalorians are kind of uniting. He's like the fact that they've been
He
split
wants to
up.
kill him.
Right.
He
He
wants
wants
them to
them
go
s-
away.
Yeah,
Totally.
he wants them to be split apart,
Purged.
so they're easier to manage.
Yep.
But when the commission,
His helmet just looked a
like,
lot like the armor's helmet. Let's
It
just say
does.
that.
It did.
It does.
It did.
It does.
Yeah, his so the other thing is, and it just kind of popped into my head. It's also kind of like popping away now. It's late and it came and then it went. But
It's really late.
when you were saying that about Moff and about the cloning, so when he was talking about these new troopers and he walked by those cloning tanks, and then when they asked at the meeting in the beginning about Pershing and all this
Yeah.
information you were supposed to promise, and he kind of said like, "Oh yeah, nothing happened." It's
For
clearly
now,
but it's clearly like he's the one that told her to fry his brain.
yes.
But it also seems like he was creating this army of his. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounded like he made it seem like those were all clones
Mhm.
that he was creating.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he was just trying to keep that council in the dark of
Yeah.
what
A
he's
little
doing.
power play going on.
I think he totally does. Yeah.
He has
Did
a
you
little
guys get that
yeah,
too?
he has a little
Okay.
power play going on.
Because I didn't really
yeah.
like put that all together until we
Yeah.
were talking about it now, but that's almost what it seems like. It almost seems like he's keeping that info
Yeah,
close to his
because
chest.
that would give him an advantage.
total advantage.
You know?
because this is all backstabbing. You know, this
Of
Empire
course.
shit's all backstabbing.
And there's the big guy Thrawn out there that
Thrawn.
they don't know his plan.
Correct.
So he's
So
like,
he's like,
let
cool,
me at
here
least
I
have
am.
my stuff going. So
Yeah.
when he does finally decide, I can have something to counteract whatever he's doing.
Well,
Yeah.
You know, something that I have for myself.
Yeah, they do when they're doing the whole council meeting. They do. One of the guys actually says like they're trying to give like this whole persona that they're all disorganized, that they're just like running around
Yes.
individually, but they're
Yes.
not actually working together. But in a way, you still get that vibe. No, you guys actually are still individual. Like you guys aren't actually running together because you don't have a leader.
Yeah.
No leader and no clear plan.
Yeah, you guys are
They're
being
waiting.
Yeah.
You're waiting for
Thrawn.
your
Yeah.
leader to show
They're
up. But
waiting
in,
for
in
Thrawn.
that time, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, but we're together, but we're not. But I'm still not going to give you any supplies, right? He has to basically tell them reasons why he needs supplies. Like, hey, I asked for what he asked for, like more tie interceptors and some bombers and
then the guards.
then some guards, because the Mandalorians are getting together and they're forming up troopers. But he's been asking for that for a while. And they wouldn't give it to him. They weren't actually working together.
No.
So it's all just all coming together. It's all fabulous.
This was really good, and then it was like super action packed at the end.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
the
I
when
thought
he
it was,
was-
I thought it was going to end right when you saw those guys show up, but it turns out there was like another 10 minutes.
Yeah,
which
good,
was
good
awesome.
gun battle.
Yeah.
You know, some
Making
John
up for
Wick
last
going
time.
in there. You
Yeah.
know,
John.
people are dying, and then
Yeah.
Paz.
Yeah. So
dude,
we saw him go out in a blaze of glory.
dude, epic.
And it was like he took out everybody.
Yep.
Right. So if everyone would just have hung out for a little bit with him, they could have taken out Gideon together,
Yeah.
which is kind of unfortunate, you know, that we missed. That's a missed opportunity. But I thought that was also interesting that his gun is the only gun that seems like that could take anybody out. Didn't
The
right?
minigun.
Did we all notice that?
I mean,
his
minigun. Everyone
yeah,
else
his-
has pistols, dude. They're all just
Yeah.
blasting with pistols, and homie has a freaking minigun machine
yeah, but
gun.
they're all,
He's
it's
so
all
big.
shooting blaster bolts. It's not like there's is there caliber blaster bolts I don't know about?
Well, look at Mando's
You're
original.
shooting
Look
40
at Mando's
You're
original
shooting
gun,
45 blasters over there.
That rifle he
for
had
sure.
in season
dude.
one.
That thing was pimp.
That was
Oh,
a blaster.
God.
That was like
Eliminating
a
people.
vapor rifle or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Like he had to
Eliminating
actually
people, one-hit
load that
quitter.
in with cartridge. Like he
Yeah,
was putting
that's true.
physical bullets in that thing.
That thing
Yeah.
was sick.
And
One-hit
why is he
quitter.
still walking around with the bullets when he doesn't have the gun?
Yeah, I know.
Nobody knows.
Uh,
Just hoping the gun's just gonna
They
show
look
up. so he
cool,
can pop-
dude.
He does look cool.
They look
He
cool.
does look cool. All
yeah,
right.
it was great. Like right in the beginning of the episode, you're like, Paz is a legend, and he went out like a legend.
He went out like a ledge.
He took
dude.
a lot. He took a lot of people with him.
Yeah, he did.
But let's also
you know,
let's also
with those
be
guards.
honest. I'm glad he's gone. That guy was
Why?
he was just annoying, man. Just
He
like this
wasn't
brute
that
force. He
annoying.
seemed stupid. Even though
He was not.
he seemed that way. Obviously, they showed him playing some form of chess to kind of
Yep.
give you the impression that no, he's actually a really smart person. He's loyal. He's definitely loyal to his
Yes.
people for sure. And he did always give the vibe clearly that he didn't think that either he was just jealous of Din Djarin because he was getting
Yeah.
all the Beskar, getting you know the praise from the armor, or he just like felt that he wasn't really a true believer, or he like I don't like whatever his deal
He
was.
was a good dad. He cared about what's his name, Ragnarok.
Ragnar.
Ragnar. Yeah, right.
Who's, you know,
Yeah.
he lost his dad.
I liked Paz.
Well,
I
guess
liked,
what? Now he's got to take over. Now he's got to take his son over. But he's
He's got some Boba Django thing going on right there. Mm. Now I liked
Mm.
Paz, and
Yeah.
I think his whole thing with Din is Din was like a nobody, and Paz was a Vizsla. He's, you know, when you don't have now
Sure.
when you don't
Okay.
have the Kryze
that
clan,
makes more sense.
when you don't have the
Mm-hmm.
Kryze clan, like in Boba in that episode when he challenged him because he's basically like, dude, who are you? Yeah, you have the dark saber, but like you're a nobody.
He
I'm
said
a Vizsla.
but he also said his ancestor was the one who made the dark saber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tar Vizsla was the first Mandalorian Jedi. He literally made the dark saber. So that's his ancestor. We're going back 1,000 years. So
Yeah.
he's like, this
Give
is
me my-
mine.
But
Give
Paz
my
had a nice
stuff back.
arc. He, you know,
Oh, yeah.
and again he became a I don't want to say a follower of Din Djarin, but he was down.
He was on board.
He was on board, and
Yeah.
He
you know,
believed in him.
look, he followed
He's
Bokatan
front man.
to this. He volunteered to go down there. He's there. He was there for the cause.
Yeah.
And he's
Like I'm bummed they killed him off, but like someone needed to die, I feel like, in this
Yeah,
episode.
oh,
You know what I
sure.
mean? Like
This
someone
season,
important kind of needed to die. And I feel like someone else probably will die
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
In this
the
next
end of the
episode.
season.
Hopefully, it's
finale.
not Din Djarin.
No, they're not going to kill Din, dude. Not yet.
They got him walking around.
I think they will. I think
Star Wars land and
I think he
Disney.
could.
They're not going to do that.
I think he could. I don't know if they will, but
I don't think they will. I can
think
see them getting. I can see him being captured and taken off the board for season 4, though. If things keep going the way it's going, I can see that happening. Or every single thing we're seeing as far as that relationship with Grogu and Bo-Katan, and the fact that Din Djarin is pledging his allegiance to her and all those things. Maybe it's just setting something up for them to become more of a family.
Ooh.
And he's going to need to take his mask off at some point.
Okay, you know
because that is the only way.
Well, one last thing, just because I think we kind of skipped it. The monster that came out of the ground?
I don't know. I thought at first it was a mythosaur, but then I asked you and you didn't think so.
That's what I mean.
Why
so
wouldn't it be the mythosaur?
Because it didn't look like a mythosaur.
And nobody else was in awe about it. Because
no one
they're
mentioned it.
shocked. They're a little shocked about it.
They didn't say anything because
but it was kind of a big fucking creature.
Yeah,
like that thing was huge.
You know, some of the fan art that drew of the mythosaur is kind of like what you saw.
Yeah, but the mythosaur has the
horns.
Front horns.
Yeah,
and
like almost like a Tyrannosaurus Rex a little bit too. And the tail thing that crushes, like that ball tail thing, it had that too. If
it was a mythosaur, I feel like people would have been the Mandalorians would have been reacting differently to seeing it because
they don't know what they saw. No one's seen one before.
Yeah, but they know what it looks like.
Most of them have the arm.
Well, it's like we've never seen a T-Rex, and like you know what a T-Rex looks like.
They just spray painted its face underneath the ship. They know what it looks like.
But they're not looking at it from afar. They were getting crushed by the damn thing, like up close and personal.
But did it look like it to you?
And they didn't have a moment because you didn't get a clear shot.
That's
But
you did. You got a clear shot of the face. You did.
Not a clear. There was debris everywhere. Homie just came out of the ground.
I didn't see a clear shot. You can go back. I didn't see a clear shot of
it. Was moving its face around.
Do you think it was the mythosaur?
After you said you didn't think it was, then I thought about it. I was like, I don't think it was.
Well,
all I didn't see the characteristics.
I didn't see the characteristics.
And the way that they reacted.
Well, from everything I read
she knew what she saw.
Everything I read from the weekend,
she saw.
They said that was the mythosaur that was wrecking crap for the episode. That's what they said in everything I read.
So here's the thing. For I think them putting that in there, it's like it probably was. Why would you make this huge creature come out of the ground when, like, of course it's probably the mythosaur, but it didn't look like it.
And they handled it poorly.
They handled it poorly because again, if it was the mythosaur and no one's ever seen one except for Bo, why isn't that the topic of conversation? Even if you're
when they're running
or in the cave, you're in the cave. It's like, was that a fucking mythosaur? Like no one.
You should all be headbutting each other. Like, yeah.
Why? A bunch of people just died.
But they saw a mythosaur, so they don't care. That's the way.
Also a sign. It's also a sign that age of Mandalore.
If it was, Bo-Katan should have been flying. And how are you going to ride that thing? You could ride that thing, and it wouldn't even know you were on it.
Correct.
You could camp out and you'd be like a fly.
I think that's why it's such an impressive feat when someone tames a mythosaur.
I mean, okay,
I don't know.
Yeah, because like you can see some of the artwork. It's you see the ball tail thing. I mean, I don't know. This is nothing that's ever been clearly seen on anywhere, really. So all I know is when I was reading,
it looked way bigger than that.
Yeah, of course. This is like people, little drawings. Everything I read when I was reading the spoilers for this episode over the weekend, they described that everybody as the mythosaur breaks out of the ground and starts wrecking everything and killing.
I mean, it probably was,
so
right?
We don't know.
Like it probably was.
I think next episode, that's going to be more defined.
Yeah, like that next to the left of that big picture, that looks like more like what it looked like underwater.
Yeah, because underwater you just saw the eye, really.
But you also saw, you saw the...
you saw a little bit of that. Yeah, the jawline.
Well, you saw the horn,
You saw this horn kind of thing, yeah. So they did...
We'll see.
Yeah, next episode
they'll
flush that out more
because,
like I said,
that's what it looks like right there.
Yeah, I agree.
The far left one, right in the middle.
How did that get in there?
Yeah, right.
Sure, it's your search engine.
This will be good for when we get the video up next week. People will see what the hell we're looking at. But yeah, I mean,
it's funny
until they kind of we'll know in the next couple of days when they kind of the real articles from places like that. They'll get the real word from Disney. This is what it was.
Yeah.
Tapping out.
Man, I'm so tired right now. I've had a very, very long day. I did not drink enough coffee.
I came in with a cup. I should have gotten you one if you had told me.
It's because I was like, we're going to crack wine. That was cool. That was cool at 10:30, but
yeah, it's not cool right now. Let me tell you.
That doesn't help. But overall, I'll help you out here. What's your grade on this episode?
Oh, this episode's a 10.
Whoa! Last week you gave what was a 2? Now you jumped up to a 10.
This episode's a 10.
He
for
re-rated
a
a
lot.
7.
Oh yeah, he rated it a
It's
7.
a 7. So yeah, this is an easy 10. For that, this
is only 3 points more than last week's
Well,
episode.
I said this is an easy 10 if the other one's a 7 now. So look, you have every single thing we wanted to happen in this episode happened in this episode, with the exception of not seeing Grand Admiral Thrawn. If you think about it,
but they mentioned him several times.
They mentioned him several times. You know that he's part of this universe. You know that he's in a way he's the grand poopah of whatever's left of the Empire, at least for now in some of their eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You get to find out who. What do you keep calling her?
Wait, who?
B87. What is her name?
Oh, it's like G86.
G86, the communications officer. You get to see who she's actually working for, what she's been doing down there. She's actually a spy. You found out the Grand Admiral, Moff Gideon is the actual guy, the puppet master of every single thing you've actually been seeing happening in this season. As far as like the TIE interceptors came from Moff Gideon, like you found out a lot of stuff in this episode. You found out that Gideon's been on Mandalore this entire time, staging, whatever the case is, staging his comeback, his second coming, whatever we want to call it. It's my 10 is justified. I don't have to keep going into this. It's getting late. I give it a 10. I'm sticking by it. Joey, what do you give it?
I'm right there. I mean, like, I don't know if I can quite 10 it because I feel like I would need to be like standing up mid episode.
Did you give a 10 to any of the other episodes?
No. No.
Would this be
This is best episode. This is solid, like 9.5, dude. Solid. This had
9.5.
This is 9.5, man.
Just so close to an A.
Yeah. No, it's an A.
Oh no, an A plus.
Yeah.
I don't give out 10s easy on TV shows. I mean, they need to be like really like Red Wedding.
Red Wedding. I knew you were gonna say Red Wedding.
Like they gotta be like epic. I mean, I think Game of Thrones might have the most 10s I've ever given for TV shows. So this is, to me, this is solid. This is 9, maybe even 9.5, because it was good. It was well done. I love the music. Pace was smooth. The 50 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it was, went really quick.
No BS.
The only reason I wouldn't have given it 10 is the IronMan suit. Is kind of like a little, but it's a little hokey Star Wars thing. So
just think of the Funko Pops that are going to come out
they're
tomorrow.
Gonna sell so much.
Oh, so much merch right there.
You know what?
Kathleen Kennedy probably popped in.
Yeah.
Like probably Favreau's like, we
need a new toy.
Favreau probably was just joking. Like I could just see it. Like Favreau didn't want to bring Grogu back because it didn't like align with what story he had going on. She forces it to come back, and he jokes around and goes, "Sure, why don't I just bring him back? I'll just put him in an Iron Man suit or something like that." It's like, that's genius. Do it.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Money, money, money.
Yeah.
So that's why I didn't give it a 10.
And I
cosplay next year, you're going to see some grown adult.
Yes.
In a Iron Man Grogu costume.
100%.
And his belly will be Grogu.
100%.
No, his chest will be Grogu.
Yeah. Hands down.
Tattooed on it.
No, this is
great. And the remote that says no, yes.
No,
in the IG
yes,
11 voice.
Yeah.
This was a great episode. I'm stoked for next week.
Yeah.
I think they're going to deliver solid.
How are they going to close this off? We were talking off air during the break here that we just had. Like Fen Rao is supposed to make appearance this season, so it has to be the next episode. And how he's going to tie in, and
Boba too, right?
And Boba, because the director, what's his name?
Rick. Yeah. Something like that. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it.
Oh man,
butchered his name.
Rick,
but he said that these 2 episodes. I'm pulling up his government
his government name.
Wow.
Government name, that these 2 episodes are going to close off loops in both shows. So that's going to be
what needs to be closed off in Boba Fett though?
That's what we were talking about.
Rick Famuyiwa.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to find out that Moff Gideon's been trying to smuggle spice through Tatooine.
No, the only thing that I can think of is because how like kind of chill Boba ended is that in order to help get Mando back, maybe they're going to call in all help they can, which would mean, Boba's a Mandalorian, Fen Rao's a Mandalorian, so maybe they're gonna try and call in, everybody that they can
I could see
possibly
that.
rally, and they're gonna rally every. That's the only
Here's
thing.
the
Because let's not
Here's
forget
the-
also the way it ended. He sent out the TIE interceptors and the bombers to go take care of Bo-Katan's fleet. So most likely damage has been done, and they probably lost a lot of Mandalorians
Yeah.
up there.
This
For
is what
sure.
he said this
Yeah.
weekend.
They might actually be the only Mandalorians left besides the armor.
Or maybe they saw the
She'll be-
bullshit and
she'll
they
be
took
floating
off.
around somewhere.
They left.
Maybe they took off. Maybe they hit hyperspace.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
The 2 episodes will bring resolution to both The Mandalorian
2 episodes.
and the Book of Boba Fett. That's his quote from this
Resolution
weekend.
to Boba Fett.
That's
though.
the director of these 2 episodes.
I didn't know
Rick
but I didn't think-
Famuyiwa.
I didn't think it needed it,
Yeah,
but
me
hey,
neither.
you know what? I liked Boba Fett.
But
so bring him back.
remember she was like, "What's next?" Fennec. She was like, "What's next?" And like, he didn't really have anything. They kind of like made Mos Espa or Mos Eisley. Was it Mos Espa or Mos Eisley? It was Mos Espa,
Mos
right?
Espa.
Yeah. They kind of made that chill. They kind of alluded that like that other dude was going to be taking over and Boba was going to be free. And he's like, "Oh, I don't know."
I thought they were just gonna go party with Freetown. Now that they just
I thought he
won.
was going to go,
They
with
start,
Fennec.
they
and-
start spicing.
Yeah.
We might have gotten rid of the trade, but we have our own private stash.
Right. No, it's
Okay.
gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Great
because
episode.
My iPad is acting weird. It was a great episode. We can agree it's 10s, 9s, and 9.5s. Either way, we're stoked about the next episode. We're stoked about all the stuff that came out of the Star Wars celebration thing.
Not all of it.
Most
For all
of it.
us.
Most of it. We did it. We did an episode for it. Be sure to check it out. I think it's either going to drop before or after this. It depends on which one I get to first. But yes, thank you everybody for listening. We are the Extremists. Thank you, Joey, for stepping in and making us seem like we know what we're talking about when it comes to Star Wars.
Oh, stop it.
Please, everyone, if you like the content you're listening to, go check out the Patreon page. Let us know the support. Let us know what we missed in this episode. If you wanted us to add anything, or if you caught something we didn't catch, or if your takes are just different, just let us know. The timing on this is fabulous. I love it so much.
That's true. We're on YouTube now. We have all our previous and all our current videos are on YouTube under the Rot Your Brain Media channel, where you can get all the podcasts right there. And starting next week, I believe we're going to be recording our wonderful faces
that's
and
the
our
goal.
space and everything.
We still got some kinks
For
to
the
work
finale.
out. We got
For the
some kinks-
finale, yeah.
Yeah, we got some kinks to work out, but we're still working on it. So bear with us. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.
Music composed by Kyle Torme. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Extremist coverage of The Mandalorian. Subscribe to the Extremist podcast feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com/The Extremist. Subscribe to Rot Your Brain Media feed at rotyourbrainmedia.com, and support Rot Your Brain Media by visiting patreon.com/rotyourbrainmedia.